There's a lot of things I wanted to be wrong about with the incoming Trump administration, the mass deportations being one of them. But according to Tom Homan, seems like I was probably right, and I'm not happy about it.
Blowing your cover when I announced that there's going to be a big raid in Chicago on Tuesday? Or do you want people to know? Maybe they can self-deport.
There's going to be a big raid all across the country. Chicago is just one of many places. We got 24 field officers across the country. On Tuesday, you're going to expect ICE. ICE is finally going to go out and do their job. We're going to take the handcuffs off ICE and let them go arrest criminal aliens. That's what's going to happen.
So yeah, that's the incoming border czar who says raids are coming. If you've been listening to the Senate confirmation hearings this week, Kristi Noem sat for her confirmation hearing about becoming Director of Homeland Security, and she was unable to answer the question of who would actually be in charge, whether it would be her, Trump, Tom Homan, any of them. But Tom Homan is the one out there making the plans, making the statements, and promising raids. The Chicago Sun-Times is reporting about it. Chicago braces for potential Trump deportations. We have to be prepared. Advocates for immigrants canvassed Chicago's Latino neighborhoods ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration, which could open the door to immigration raids. It's a fact that we have to be prepared. They're going to Chicago first because they're specifically going to target blue cities and sanctuary cities in general. The Trump administration wants to make sanctuary cities illegal, and they want to arrest or hold accountable any governor or senator or anyone that stands in the way of their raids in a sanctuary city. I begged people to take it seriously when they were holding signs like this at his rallies. I begged and pleaded with people to listen to the words he's saying, to listen to the vitriolic racism spewing from that fucker's face. But not enough people listened, not enough people cared, and so now here we are. 2 days from him being inaugurated, 3 days from mass deportation raids beginning. This is from ABC News. ICE post-inauguration ICE raids starting as soon as Tuesday. Incoming border czar Tom Homan has singled out Chicago in past comments. The agency has been ramping up its operations in anticipation of Trump's plan to carry out deportations, and the agency put out a request for ICE agents to volunteer to help with at least some of the operations. They are stepping up and ramping up and are ready to go on day one. You are an immigrant, if you are undocumented, if you know people who are undocumented and you live in a safe blue city like Chicago, you might want to make contingency plans. They are also expanding the scope that ICE can operate in. Under the Biden administration, it was very limited what they could do. There were no workplace raids. The Biden administration put a stop to those. ICE could only go after violent criminals and new arrivals. They were pretty limited in what they could do. And Trump and Tom Homan and ICE have decided and declared that there are no more limits. So you could get swept up in a raid, and they could just find a reason to deport you. And with regards to that, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals just declared that DACA is illegal. Appeals court again declares DACA illegal, but keeps immigration policy alive. A federal appeals court on Friday declared the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals immigration policy unlawful, casting a cloud of uncertainty over more than 500,000 unauthorized immigrants brought to the U.S. as children ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration. A panel of judges before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit upheld a lower court ruling that found that a Biden administration rule to codify DACA violated U.S. immigration law. The 2012 Obama administration memo that originally created the policy has also been found to be unlawful by federal court. So DACA was a policy created under Obama to protect people that came here as children from deportation. And there's a lot of strict rules. You have to graduate high school, you have to immediately join the workforce or the military, or a trade school, or go to college. You can't have any, a criminal record at all. And these DACA recipients, who are all adults in their 30s for the most part, because now they're not going to allow any new DACA recipients, they're all adults and they're all thriving and doing really well. And if you're an American who's even a little bit social and you went to school, you probably know some DACA recipients. Trump's been looking for ways to do mass deportations, and one of the easiest way would be to declare that the 600,000 DACA recipients are illegal. Take away their rights. They know exactly where they are because they've got to stay updated, and kick them all out. Again, I didn't want to be right about this. I just paid attention. I watched the Trump rallies where he screamed about criminal migrants and migrant crime, and the one where he went to Aurora and held a straight up Nazi rally, where Stephen Miller screamed about how these brown people don't look like you. They don't look like your children's friends in school, and they don't belong in your neighborhood. This was probably one of his biggest campaign promises, and expected to start next week. I mean, that's what they're saying. Chicago, brace for impact, and call your elected representatives and tell them to stand up against Trump and ICE and to stand up against these illegal raids that are going to be coming to their sanctuary cities. Governor of Oregon, my governor, Governor Tina Kotek, she has already stated that she will stand by sanctuary laws despite Trump's allied group's warning of serious consequences. Governor Tina Kotek said on Friday her administration will continue adhering to Oregon's sanctuary law despite receiving a letter from a nonprofit allied with President-elect Donald Trump warning of federal prosecution and civil lawsuits for doing so. I remain focused on delivering results for the issues Oregonians care about most, Kotek said in a statement. I stand by Oregonians' state-guaranteed protections and civil liberties. So this is it. They have nonprofits. They have the entire force of the government threatening and coming after governors of blue states, mayors of blue cities. Apparently, Tina Kotek got this letter days before Christmas from America First Legal Foundation, which is Stephen Miller's nonprofit. It's Stephen Miller's legal foundation, and Stephen Miller is now deputy director of Nazism in the Trump administration. Anyway, the letter stated that the group America First Legal had identified your jurisdiction as a sanctuary jurisdiction that is violating federal law, and obstructing immigration law carries serious consequences. It continues, such lawlessness subjects you and your subordinates to significant risk of criminal and civil liability. An attorney for the group, James Rogers, wrote in the letter that they sent on December 23rd. They're spending Christmas sending letters to governors and mayors and local electeds, threatening them with legal shit. Anyway, it goes on. Accordingly, we are sending this letter to put you on notice of the risk and insist that you comply with our nation's laws. So we are in it now. We've got nonprofits threatening governors. ICE is recruiting volunteers. The full force of the U.S. government is about to come down on immigrants in a really dark, hard way. And like I said, I wish I was wrong about this. I take no joy in this. I have friends whose parents were undocumented. I have friends from high school who are DACA recipients. I don't want any of these people to suffer. What the fuck? But I feel obliged to tell you all the truth, that we are truly cooked. And our last line of defense is Democratic governors and state electeds against Stephen Miller and ICE and Trump. So again, the fight is local. Do what you can, and be prepared. Because not only are mass deportations bad for the people that are affected, like the actual immigrants who are ripped from their homes, it's bad for the entire economy. And if there are mass deportation raids in Chicago, what do you think that's going to do for the meatpacking industry, for agriculture, for construction, any of it? It's going to have ripple effects, really bad ripple effects. Anyway, I'll probably stay on this app for a little bit because it seems like Trump might try to sign some 90-day extension, but SCOTUS has already declared that they want to ban it, so who the hell knows? Side note, Trump signed the original executive order to ban TikTok, so remember that, okay?